Welcome to the 98% podcast, where we hear real stories from real people. And I'm here with a special episode called Welcome to the Hot Seat. And we're bringing back Jon from one of the previous episodes. I believe it was episode 20, I believe. So, Jon, tell us a little bit about yourself real quick.
I'm a guy that owns a construction business. I've got 4 kids and a wife. I don't have any pets. And I like to play music.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. So for those of you out there that this is your first one you're tuning into, so we have the kind of the regular episodes where we go through and we ask the deep questions. Then we have these episodes, which are hot seat episodes. So what this is we bring returning guests from previous podcasts back on, and we give each other 4 questions. So what we did is I created 4 questions for Jon. Jon created 4 questions for me, and we're going to put each other on the spot and answer these questions. So without further ado, Jon, are you ready?
I believe so.
Okay, here we go. So I'll start. I'll kick us off. So what I like to do is I like to do themes for each 4 of these and stuff that I know about you, and I want to see what you think. So we're going to start it off with religion or Christianity. Are you ready? First question. You ready, Jon?
Yep.
Okay. So how has your understanding of grace evolved over time, and how does it shape the way you approach your own flaws or those of others?
That's a good one. Well, I guess let me start at the beginning. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, I actually came to an altar call and gave my life to Jesus. And I think it immediately did make an impact in my life even at that age, because I know I used to be a very hyper-aggressive child and, throw tantrums and hit my head on stuff and, the worst little kid. And it seemed like after that, I thought about how I could, do better. And I think from that point on, I do think it impacted my life. As growing and understanding more about grace, I would say my understanding has changed as at a younger age, you think things should be a certain way and you expect things to be a certain way. And as you get older, you understand that we're flawed individuals and that we have problems. People are dealing with things. You might see someone and you're like, why are they acting like that? And as you get older, you say, well, they're probably having a terrible day. Maybe something in their life is wrong. Something's going on that they are dealing with. You become more aware of other people. And I think that helps you have grace and understand grace more, because you understand we're just people in this fallen world trying to do our best.
Okay. Good answer, Jon. Okay. So what's your first question for me?
Okay. I wasn't sure how serious of a note to go or how I have some more serious and more relaxed questions. So maybe I was going to ask you what your workout routine is, because I know in the past couple of years you've had some serious gains and you're looking great, and the change. So for all of us people that just work out like a couple times a month, I know that probably isn't going to cut it, obviously. But so I thought I'd ask, like, what have you been doing? Like, it's working for you. So.
Okay. No, that's a good question. So thank you for the compliments, by the way. I appreciate that. Well, the extreme answer is I got a divorce. So that led me to the gym. Not quite the answer that I'd like to give, but I'd say that was that was the first step. And that was just because I mean, you've known me for a long time, so you know that like I've always been pretty active, but like I took kind of a break for a bit where I didn't really work out, not consistently for maybe 6 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just took me getting into a place like that where I was like, dude, I got to figure out what's going on. Like, I got to figure out like how to get my head straight, right? Like, how do I feel better? How do I handle my emotions, etc. And I just was like, you know what? I need to go to the gym. And I just remember showing up to the gym, and I made a promise to myself that I still keep today. And it was a promise for that I'm going to work out 5 times a week. And I just made it a non negotiable.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, and it was funny because it was actually really easy to do. And I think it's just because of where I was in my life, because it was, it was difficult. I was struggling, and it was just like, okay, it was some type of routine or structure that I could hold on to.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and yeah, so 5 times a week. Sometimes I do a little bit more depending on the day. And then I also dialed in my diet. So I started eating a lot cleaner, try not to eat out so much, eating a lot of meats, veggies and things of that nature. And yeah, I was definitely really hardcore about it at the beginning. Um, sorry, creatine too. Don't forget your creatine.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but we started off. But yeah, I started off super rigid for the first probably couple years, and I went from 165 pounds to 205, I think, I think it was probably a year. So it was kind of like a
Yeah.
year of just progressive gains, because I didn't want to gain too fast where I just gained a bunch of, fat essentially. I wanted to kind of gain muscle in that way. And I think the heaviest I ever got was 210, and that was a couple years ago. And I did get a little puffy when I was 210, I think. I look back at pictures and I'm like, oh, I was retaining a little bit of water,
Mhm.
for sure. But yeah, I mean, as I've progressed, I still continue to abide by that. I think I've only missed maybe 2 or 3 weeks out of the 4 years I've been doing it consistently of not doing 5 times a week.
Yeah.
So, and even
Well, that's
those
a
weeks,
lot.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even that I didn't it's I think I didn't really even take off a whole week. I just took off, like maybe I would do 3 times that week or 2 times that week.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's been so yeah, that was it. It's just, and I think at the end of the day for people that want to get into it, it's just consistency. And cool thing is if you make it a non-negotiable and you think about what it's going to do for you, either mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever, um, yeah, you'll follow through with it. Because even I got laid off during that time period too. So I had to switch my gym routine because I worked with Nike and had a gym routine. Then I got laid off, and then I could go to the gym all day, every day if I wanted to. And then
Yeah.
started a new job where it was totally different pace, and I had to figure out how to do it. But you'll find out that if you just make time, just start off small, make time, make 30 minutes, make 15 minutes, just to start doing it, make it a habit, and then just find those times where it makes sense. And then once you do it, yeah, I am so grateful that I've done it, because I can't imagine not doing it. And I wish I would have done it in that 6 year break. I wish it would have worked
Yeah.
out during that time period, because I feel better, feel healthy, feel strong, feel quick, feel agile. Um, Feels good. And then I've been competing on top of that with the Highland Games. So it's been a fun thing. So yeah, so that would be my answer.
A lot
Okay.
of
Thank you,
dedication.
John. It is. It does. It's funny because it doesn't seem that bad. It's always the hardest to start. Once you start, you
That's
just
true.
figure out
That's
times.
with all kinds of things too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's with anything. I'd say if you can find a consistent, like if you want to do 3 times a week, just find 3 days that you can schedule out, whether it be like maybe it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's like structured, and then find a time that works. And even if it's just going down and doing push ups or something, doing like a little 10-minute workout. If you can get in that
Yeah.
routine, I'd say after a month, it's going to become really normal just to do that. And you're probably going to do much more than push ups by the end of it.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay, you ready? My next question. So this one is about fatherhood. So, what's something you hope your children understand about you, not now, but when they're older and facing their own adult challenges?
Um. Well, I always try to be very uh honest about life with my kids and like explain to them or explain things to them. Not necessarily from a like they're a child. I try to bring a more mature awareness to them. But I guess um, I know sometimes a kid doesn't realize that we're adults, but we're still just regular people. And so, like,
Mhm.
we all have our own things that we have to deal with. We all have our own desires. and obviously sometimes you have to give some of that stuff up in some context. But I mean, like, I guess I'd want them to know that, well, I'm dad, but I'm not Superman. I'm just their father. I mean,
Uh-huh.
you know what I'm saying. I'm just human,
Uh-huh.
just like everyone else. So that's probably what I would want them to know is it's okay to make mistakes. It's just you have to try to get back on the right track if you make a mistake. I mean, life, we only get one shot at it, so we're gonna mess up here and there, obviously. Um, it's just try not to stay in those areas and try and get back on track.
I like that. I remember it's funny how when you're kids that we think that way because I remember thinking that way too. Is like when you're a kid, you think your parents know everything, or at least I did. Right? That they know
Yeah,
everything, they can handle everything. That there's this big disconnect between kids and adults. And then once you grow
yeah.
up, you realize like that's not the case at all,
Well, like,
and we're
yeah,
all
and
just figuring it out.
like being stressed about stuff, like
Uh,
oh, I've got this I got to take care of, and I got this I got to take care of. Like when you're a kid, you think, oh, I got homework, and this is just so terrible. My parents don't have to do anything. It's like, you know, you're totally oblivious to how tough being an adult can be. I mean, being a kid can be
uh,
tough, but we all know the problems you face as an adult versus the problems you face as a kid it should be, a world of difference.
uh Yeah,
Hopefully,
more
you know,
responsibility.
yeah.
Okay, sweet. Okay, next one, John.
Okay, so this is one of my more serious questions, and
Oof. Okay.
yeah, it's not really that bad, but a few weeks back when we were kind of in our group message, uh, we were all talking, and you had mentioned you had interviewed someone, and they had talked about a religious deconstruction, and
Uh huh.
so um, and I know you said that you found that interesting.
Uh huh.
What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I have my own thoughts, obviously, but what do you think about it?
About deconstruction.
Religious deconstruction, yes.
Religious deconstruction. Yes. So, in my opinion, I think it's a spectrum. So, I think it depends. But I don't. So, especially like with this guest, like I loved her perspective because when I think about it, I think being able to wrestle with those ideas and wrestle with belief, I think is a strong tool. I think it's something that you should do. So when I think about deconstructing, it depends on what the motives are for it. Are you deconstructing because I don't know, because you hate the church or because of whatever, right? Okay, that's a different deconstruction maybe than trying to deconstruct of like, hey, I just want to kind of figure out like what does it actually all mean, or like what does this message mean, or let's look beyond and see what makes up, what I believe in the first place. And I think that's actually a powerful tool in my opinion. Because for me, I wouldn't say I've necessarily like deconstructed in like an intense way necessarily of like where it's like I don't believe in God or anything like that. But I wrestle with concepts like that all the time. And I'm very open-minded to different perspectives and ways of life and living. There's certain things I don't agree with personally, but at the same time that there's like I don't know, I think it's power in that because then at the end of the day, as you progress in your journey, when you come to that conclusion, you know that you've came to that conclusion because it's actually your opinion and it's actually what you believe rather than just like this is what everybody taught me and this
Yeah.
is
Well,
what I
yeah,
believe because that's what they believe.
I completely agree. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I'll get the chance to witness to someone, and I don't tell them, "Oh, you should do this, and you should do this, and you should do this." But
Mhm.
what I usually will say is, "I hope that God reveals Himself to you, and so that that relationship can be real." Because just
Mhm.
going through a ceremony or a process, or just doing things because you're told to do them,
Mhm.
there's not going to be any return on that.
Mhm.
Um, if if you are brought up and your family's just like, "Oh, we go to church just because we're Christians, and you're like, well, what does that mean? Okay, we're Christians. What does that even mean? If you don't live any type of changed lifestyle, then I can call myself a dinosaur, but that no more makes me a dinosaur
Uh-huh.
than a rock. So it
Uh-huh.
definitely, and the concept of knowing why you believe something, and it has to be real for you, or it would be pointless. But
Uh-huh.
that's the thing. If you don't have the relationship and the basis for that, then yeah, it's just you're just playing. I suppose is what I'd say. Now, I mean, I hope that everyone could find that and have a relationship and actually have, not just a knowledge about things, but actually an experience that they can draw from.
Uh-huh.
Because that's, a personal experience means so much more than hearing someone else's, oh, well, I saw this, or one time this happened. And you're like, okay, that's interesting, but I don't know if I can really believe that. But once you see, once you're holding your child in your hands and it's your child dying and you're praying and you see a breakthrough, you're gonna have a changed heart after that. You're gonna say, you know, science can't prove what happened. God had to be there and God had to have moved because that's the only way I can explain it. In one of those situations.
Okay. Sweet. Okay, so this is so my third question. Here we go. Okay, so this one's about hunting.
Okay.
S Okay. So what does hunting mean to you beyond the act itself? Is it tradition, connection to nature, self-reliance, or something else entirely?
Um, I would say it's a mixture of many things. Um, First off, I don't think anyone hunts because they actually need the food at this day and age. I mean, there was a point in time where that's how you survived, or like the early settlers wouldn't have a store they could just go buy from, so they'd have to slaughter their own animals or hunt, to get food or grow stuff, obviously. But
Uh-huh.
but, but to me, hunting is um, I think it's just more of like the experience because I've went several years hunting and not even seen deer at some points, and so that's a little discouraging. But still, it's awesome to get to take the kids out and sit out in the cold in the tree stand and make memories. And it's just kind of you know some alone time with one kid or the other kid. You get to experience things, and it just makes memories that you're going to have for a lifetime. And when you actually do get to kill something and get to enjoy it, that's also a cool aspect of it too. Like I know, me and Rylan got to do a ram hunt um, a year or two ago. I can't remember exactly when now. We just got the mounts back just a couple months ago, so it might have been 2 years ago. Um, but yeah, it was awesome because that one we actually drove down to Texas, and so I got to chit chat with him on the way, and we cracked jokes and just had a good time just on the journey getting there. And then obviously while we're hunting, the stuff that happened, the experiences, our guide was a little goofy and just made some situations, pretty funny, like looking back at it. But overall, it was a fun time, and we got this little mantra where we'll be like, "Ram hunt completed," just everyone will say that just being ridiculous. But yeah, I think it's a lot of things. If you like wild turkey is probably the best food or best meat I've ever had. I mean, some people might be like, "Ooh, gross," but no, it doesn't compare to Thanksgiving turkey. It's like not even the same. animal.
Huh.
It's
Why
a
is that?
turkey, but a wild bird. I think because their diet, instead of just eating like corn
Ah,
all the time, they eat worms and grass and seeds and ticks and all kinds of different stuff. It gives them that kind of wild taste, I suppose.
I
But
love
yeah,
eating worms and ticks.
they're delicious. No, the turkeys. Uh, that's pretty funny. But no, I think it's just the whole encompassing experience. You know, it's I remember the first time I went hunting with my dad, and it was kind of a negative experience in one way because we were actually hunting a couple feet apart, and we saw this doe coming up a hill, or we saw it go down a valley and then start coming up. But I was waiting for it. I was always taught, like, if it's looking at you, don't move. That's what my dad would say. Oh, if that deer's looking at you, be still as you can until it turns its head away, and then take your shot. And so it's walking towards us the whole time. And so, it stopped for a second, and I got the gun up on it, and then I hear boom, and my dad shot it. And I was like, I was 12 years old. Like, Dad, why do you shoot it? I'm like, I had the gun, I was squeezing the trigger and everything. He's like, oh, you're going to let it get away. It's like, it's just a doe. Who cares? He's like, no, I paid for that tag. I'm filming it. So that was kind of a negative experience. But looking back
uh-huh.
on it, after taking my kids hunting several times, I'm not going to shoot a deer out from under them. I do tease them and say, like, if I see a really nice buck, I'm like, I haven't got to get too many bucks in my lifetime, so you might have to fight me for it, or you might have to be pretty quick, or I might get that one, like a nice one. If it's just a 6 or 8, I'd probably let them have it. If it's like a 12 or something really nice, then I'm like, yeah, I think you'll have to wait your turn for one of those.
Yeah, that's the great verbiage to use. We need to fight over it with guns.
Yeah.
Probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
I'll fight you for it. Okay.
Get shot in the
Uh,
leg. Like, I didn't use that,
yeah,
son.
yeah. That's funny. Okay, cool. So then you do it. So you do it for the experience, and I assume it's because it was an experience that you had with your child, from your childhood. So it's just kind of get
Yeah.
passed on.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Let's see. Oh, it's yours. Your third question for me.
Okay. And this one's kind of a lighthearted one as well. I know, um, I mean, we both play music a lot. I don't know how much people know on your side of things as far as music and stuff. We played for like 20 years together or something like that. Um,
Yeah, let's
do-
talk about that. Let's talk about that to fill them in on what we do.
okay. Well, we've been in a band, Nightmare and Nevermore, for, yeah, I don't know, probably 19 years. Started out Cugula Corbus.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I was, like 17, 18. I'd come over to Ricky's house like every weekend and jam out. I'd bring an amp and a guitar and cut my fingers sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And we would just learn riffs, learn songs, and just rock out. And it was a good time. Lots of good memories, lots of funny stuff. Watching Wonder Chosen, playing The Matrix and other video games, and listening to music, you know. And then a little later on, playing lots of shows and stuff, and just all kinds of good stuff. Oh, but I guess my question was, is there any specific gear that you would be like, oh, that'd be nice to have, or I would like to get that, but
Yeah. I feel, okay, so let's fill everybody in on this part too. So for those of you that obviously don't know our music situation. So Jon has all the gear. So he like
That's
invests in everything amp related, guitar related, pedal related. He makes all this stuff. So when it comes to gear, like he knows his stuff and he wants like the best. For me, I'm the opposite. I play music, but I've had the same guitars forever. I had one pedal board that I had for a while that I broke the buttons on, so I got rid of it. And I just play out of my amp distortion. I've had the same amp since the beginning. Same guitar that I've ran over with my car that still works. So so I'm one of those that's like, uh, like if it works and I like it, I don't need anything else. Like I'm very simple when it comes to things like that. So to answer that question, I don't think so.
yeah.
I
Well,
think
I mean,
I
you definitely make it sound good. That's for sure. I mean,
Yeah, I'd say the thing more I think of what I want is I want all my stuff to be like working perfect. I think that's the problem is I think about like my amp cutting out a little bit here and there. It still sounds great, but I'm like, "Now how do I get like I need to figure that out because that's bothering me." It's like I don't need a new amp necessarily. I just need to figure that out because I like the sound of that amp. Um and then with guitars, like my guitars sound fine, sound great. I don't think I need any more
yeah.
guitars. Um so yeah, so I'd say as far as gear goes, I don't think I really need anything. But I mean, seeing Seth's setup was pretty darn gnarly last
Which
time.
I've yet to see, which I'm sure is
Yeah.
pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I just saw that and was like, oh my gosh, like this is like ridiculous that this is it these days. And yeah, and I just thought like, wow, yeah, it would be nice to have one of those. But then I think about how much money that probably was, and I'm like, I think I'm okay. But if I did go that route, we could match our distortions like perfectly. Um, but yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's any gear that I need to get necessarily. I just want to make sure the stuff I have works well. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
ideally, I take that back. I take that back. I do want a cordless system that actually sounds good.
Oh,
Oh, dude, you've been on the end of it. I've said it in messages like I can't figure it out. Like and I was doing some research and I guess they're like, "Oh, well a lot of, unless you get high-end cordless setups, sometimes they do compress the sound a lot." And I
oh
think
yeah.
that's the issue is like listening to it and I can make the distortion sound fine by like tweaking the gain and stuff the way I want, and that doesn't sound too bad. And the guitar is like, okay, this could sound fine because it's distortion, right? It still sounds good. But then when I switch over to cleans, dude, nothing sounds good on that because it's so
Hmm.
compressed that it just sounds like trash.
Yeah, sounds
So,
dead.
so I thought it was my amp at first. I was like, dude, my amp speakers are out. This sucks. And I was like,
Huh.
wait a second, let me just hook up directly into it. I hooked up directly. Distortion, the clean channel sounds awesome, and I'm like, well, that sucks.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I don't know what to do about that because I don't want to spend a fortune on a cordless setup.
yeah.
But I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out because even if I have to have a long enough cable, I might have to do what I always did at gigs and just hook up directly. And then you guys can do your whole cordless thing and run around, and I'll just sit up there and sing like normal and just watch you all
Right.
and cry inside while I'm screaming. Nah, but okay. But yeah, that's my question. So, and I want to ask, I actually want to pitch that one back to you. I'm curious. So, what gear, because you love gear, what gear do you feel like you need right now?
Um, I've honestly considered like getting rid of like the majority of my stuff and getting like a Kemper, like a profiling amp, just because it's like you could get every amp in that thing. Or I've thought about doing, I mean, at church, I play through a Walrus ACS1 amp and cab simulator, and it's fine. It works, does what it needs to. But then I'm like, man, it'd be so awesome to just have like a really sweet setup. And I think Kemper's probably like the bee's knees.
Dude, I can't wait for you to see Seth's setup. You might end up getting something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure his is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's wild. Very cool. Okay. So let's see. So this is my last question for you. So this one is about regret. So let's see. Is there a moment you once saw as a failure or mistake that now feels like it had to happen? And what did it teach you that nothing else could?
Hmm. That's a pretty tough question because I don't know if I really feel. I mean, I don't really feel like I have a lot of regrets in life. There's probably a very few, if you really get down to the nitty gritty of it, like, yeah, I wish that wouldn't happen, or I wish I wouldn't have done that. But I can't think of any that I feel like had to happen. At least I can't think of it at the moment. I mean,
Yeah.
probably the biggest regret I probably have in my life, and it was just because I was kind of being a punk kid at the time, and it's probably like, well, a couple instances, but it probably has to do with my parents, like just being disrespectful to them, and having a bad like my dad and I butted heads like really bad growing up, and kind of thinking about that, it's like, well, I wish I would have been more kind and understood, like, being an adult, I respect my dad a huge amount now. Like, when I was a kid, I was totally like, "You're a loser. You're not cool," and, like, that was my mindset. I didn't say that. I was just very rude to him, and, as far as what I would expect from my kids, and looking back on it, it's like my dad's actually probably one of the most awesome people I know, and I respect him hugely now. I kinda, doing what he did, but it's like he had 7 kids, I've got 4, so he's got me beat there. He took pretty good care of us kids growing up, you know, and,
Uh-huh.
he always makes time to do things that he loves to do, like hunting and fishing and stuff, and, he's, one of the hardest working men I've ever met in my life, and yeah, it's really funny even when he doesn't mean to be, so yeah. That makes it even more funny.
So did you feel like that had to happen? Like the
I don't
way
feel like it
like
had
that
to
behavior
happen,
didn't have
no.
to
I feel like I don't think it made us closer by being that way, but it does make me think, like, I should have been more grateful, and so I don't know if that makes me have more, um, not sympathy, but almost like, I wasn't very good to my dad growing up, so now, I respect him more for it. I don't think I really do in that context, but I don't think it would have had to happen, no. I think it was just something that did happen. Um, but that
but
I
what did
guess
that
that's
thing
hmm?
I was gonna say, but what did that teach you though? That
Oh,
moment, that instance?
um, well, I guess there's a lot of instances, but I guess it would teach me something would be, you know, your perception can be very wrong, and I guess perspective makes all the difference. That's for sure.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's so true. So true. Okay, John, what's your last question for me?
Okay, so this is more of like a. I mean, music's always changing and developing, and there's always new stuff coming up and new styles, and people are recreating things all the time. But um,
Uh-huh.
I know a lot of mainstream music, there's less and less guitar, it seems like, in it. And so the question I had was, where's guitar and music headed? In the sense of like, I don't. I don't think it'll ever be like completely out because it's such a standardized thing. But it's almost like it's. I know in the '80s it was huge, but what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think we're already seeing some of the transitions, and I'll talk about that. As I think just like anything else, I think it's all about innovation. So I think music builds upon itself just like other things do. So think about new technology being introduced. You see music, media, film, all types of stuff start to go those routes. Um, so like right now, like I think of bands like Sleep Token, I think of like Bad Omens, I think of Spirit Box, and I'm just dropping like metal groups right now. But if you listen to a lot of those groups, they've started to form more. They've become almost genre fluid to a certain extent, and I think that that's kind of my opinion on where a lot of this stuff is going now. Is it seems like it's a lot less about like here, let's be a country band or let's be a metal band or let's be a blues band, which you're always going to have those genres because people
Yeah.
like them. But I think a lot of it now is like, how do we fuse that? And you start to hear like country rap. You're starting to hear Sleep Token, which is like 8 different genres in one. And you're like, well, what genre are they? I don't know. It's just Sleep Token genre.
Yep. I mean, that's a
Um,
good point.
and then, yeah,
That's
like
a good point.
yeah, I mean, Falling in Reverse is another one that I got onto the other day. Like they can do everything from super heavy music, like you're talking heavy, like insane heavy, to hip hop, to they just dropped a country song. So like
Hmm.
I just see that. I think that's what's happening. Is I think we're going to see bands continue just to kind of melt, like kind of blur the lines on what the genres are. And I mean, bands have been doing that for a long time too. I mean, I think of bands like Rammstein and things like that. Like, back in the late '90s, early 2000s, they were doing, techno metal essentially, right? And so it's not like a new concept, but I think it's like, they're figuring out how to introduce these different electronic elements, since the sound quality on that stuff's becoming great. Like, just figuring out how to
Yeah.
mix everything. Now, the tricky part is where AI falls into this is a little tricky, because I know where we're going is AI is becoming really like prevalent. Is Are we going to get to a point now where it's less about musicianship and more about prompt writing? So being able to like create songs based on just putting in entries. So is everyone going to be able to write the music they want to hear just based on typing things in and creating prompts that are going to align with that? Because some of this stuff's actually getting to a point where it's like people can start coming up with some things. Like, for instance, we've been
Yep.
throwing around songs on AI where they take a song and then they use AI to make it a different genre, and you listen to it, you're like,
Yeah.
wow. And if you think about it, you're like, oh, there's actually no band actually playing that, huh? Um, so yeah, so I don't know. I don't think musicianship will ever be dead. I think we'll always have musicians and people behind the instruments, but there could be a lot of stuff changing in that regard too, of where more and more is like how music is evolving. It takes, I wouldn't say it takes less and less talent. I don't think that's the right way to put it, but it takes less and less musicianship sometimes to get your music out there. I think it's going to become less and less of that, where it's just like, basically it's just faces at the end of the day. Like, can I market you? Cool. Well, we
Yeah.
can make all the music, or, you can make the music just in AI. So yeah, I am a little intrigued to see kind of how that goes, but yeah, I don't think musicianship in itself is ever going to die, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. That is an interesting thought because, yeah, you can go on and type in parameters for an AI song and it can spit out something that can be quite good actually, and just all made up out of thin air.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I didn't really think about that aspect of it, but it's pretty crazy what it can do.
Yeah, you literally, I can right now, I can hop on AI, ChatGPT, and you know this, can hop on and say, hey, I want to write a song about this topic in the style of this. Can you make it for me? And it'll make it for me in 5 seconds.
Rhyme, yeah, I can
And
rhyme and this and that, and
it's
it's pretty
usually pretty
solid
good.
song.
Yep, and it's usually pretty good. So it's like, huh, it's interesting. Now, the music itself and stuff like that is lagging a little bit, but there are more and more platforms, I believe, that are doing that stuff. And I've seen some of the video stuff now. There's some AI stuff that is mind blowing, where people aren't even acting anymore. You're just using AI, basically like AI gets an idea of what you look like and what you sound like, and it makes videos for you.
Yeah.
It's like, huh. So
I've
I saw
seen some
someone the
of
other
that
day that,
stuff, but,
yeah.
it's pretty crazy. It's almost, if you don't really pay attention, you could be like, "Is that real or is it not?"
I know. And right now you can laugh at it because there's certain things that it still can't do,
Yeah,
and you
or
just
like
laugh
the
about it.
fingers
But
and
think,
hands and stuff sometimes.
yeah, but it's progressing so fast that in a year, a lot of those are going to be fixed. In 2 years, it's going to be even better. And then before you know it, like think about a decade from now, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. They'll
It
just,
might be real
make a
blurred.
whole movie. Yeah, they'll make a whole movie off of just an idea.
Yeah.
They
I
could.
mean, that's some of the thoughts too, is like, well, with all this new stuff, what's going to be the thing with actors now? Because can you copy the likeness of an actor with AI and they don't even have to act and you can just incorporate the scenes with them in it? Like it's funny because you got to figure out like what are all these AI laws that we need to put in place or these safeguards for people, but it's progressing so fast I don't think a lot of the laws and stuff or policies have caught up yet. So it's
Yeah, I
going to
doubt
be
that
very
they
interesting.
can.
Yeah. So yeah. So here, just to switch, I want to throw that question back on you if you're okay with that. So where do you see music going? Do you think it's kind of similar to me, or do you think, or do you have a different opinion?
Um, well, I mean, I think you make some good points there. There is a lot of, meshing of styles, which, you
Uh-huh.
know, I think what it is, everything's been done to an extent, and so everyone's always trying to innovate and create something new. And so,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think that's where a lot of stuff actually does come from in the creativity. Because, like, Eddie Van Halen, you know, the finger tapping was a big thing he did. And then, you know, like, if you look at the greats from 50 years ago to the greats of today, it almost seems well, I don't wanna call it amateurs because there's a lot of talent there, and not just anyone can grab an instrument and do what they're doing. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, the expectancy of what musicians top musicians play today, I think is much harder to attain than what was maybe 50 years ago for, like, top musicianship. And I think that's just because the standard for what is, um, good playing ability has risen. I mean, like, YouTube videos, I mean, uh, you see little kids that can just completely shred, and I mean, that's special occasions. But there's so many. I guess you're seeing the top 1% too, and that's you
Uh-huh.
gotta take that with a grain of salt as well. But I think with what the future holds is I guess you get a widened spectrum because you have people that really it seems like they have very little talent, but they're making music and it's making millions and billions or whatever, you know, like and then you have people that are like hyper talented that might not even get much past notoriety, you know.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, with more connectivity, internet stuff, video stuff, and a higher expectancy of, oh, well, that's easy. Anyone can play that versus, oh, that's mind blowing. No one can touch that. You know,
Uh-huh.
how that plays in the future, I think it's just, I think the musicianship is going to have to elevate on a whole. But then, like I said, there's the opposite side of that spectrum where you can have all your music made for you. You go in, you just sing to a track, and you know they've been doing that for a long time too. But
Uh-huh.
it's like I'm just rambling in circles, saying that it's going to be the same, but it's going to be different. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, you hit a point there, is right. It's the music business, right? So there's a business to it, and that's I think where the other stuff comes into play. It's not so much about the playability as it is like, can we market you? And sometimes the best players aren't the people that can really be marketed. You
Well,
know?
yeah, that's true. I mean,
Yeah.
there's more to it than just having fantastic ability. I mean, you got to look a certain way. You got to be certain mannerisms, even perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's a business. They need to make money, and can they make money off you, or can they make more money off this person, even if they're not as good? And it's like, well, I can make more money
Yeah,
off them. Okay, well, it's a business, so if I can make more money, then let's just do that. So that's why that's kind of my perspective now. Is I used to get frustrated because I'm like, the best people aren't the people that are getting recognized. But then you start to think like, well, it's not even about that. It's a music business. It's a business, and they're trying to make money and stuff like that. So. Um, yeah, you just gotta hope for your opportunity and that it kind of shows up, I guess, and just do it because you love it. And I think that's about all you can
yeah,
ask.
yeah. I mean, that's a good way of thinking about it too, because just like a company making a product, I mean, are they making the absolute best products that they can create, or are they creating a product that they can sell that does a task or
Uh huh.
feeds it,
Uh huh.
fits a certain need?
Exactly. Yep. Interesting. Okay. So, what'd you think, John? That wasn't so bad, was it?
Not at all.
Sweet. Okay. So, yeah. So that was the hot seat. So, John, thanks for being a guest on here. It was fun to chat and ask some questions. Hopefully, I can get Tony on here tomorrow. That could be a lot of fun getting him on and seeing what he wants to say. Because I already got his questions designed and I'm ready to go. Um, but yeah, so yeah, that was the hot seat. So hopefully we can get some gigs going, and then we get some gigs going, maybe we can do some more episodes where we start kind of recapping shows and fun stories and stuff like that. So that would be kind of my
Sounds
next
great.
steps, I'd say, for us. So cool, John. Well,
All right, buddy.
anything else you want to share with the audience before we hop off?
Um, a little dad advice, I guess. Make sure you tell them little ones you love them, give them a nice hug, and rough them up a little bit.
I like it. You got to do that. That's part of being a dad. There you go. You gotta rough up the kids sometimes.
Of course, I mean, I don't mean like elbow drop to the head. I mean, just like
I know.
ruffle their hair or,
Yeah.
you know, something like
Yeah.
that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, on that note, we will catch you all later.
All right.
Okay. See
Bye,
ya.
buddy.